The road to WrestleMania 40 is really starting to heat up. Really good addition tonight, I thought, of WWE Raw. 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks, I should say, from the show of shows. And I thought tonight was really good and fun. And I thought it was really crucial tonight going into tonight's Raw that Cody responds appropriately to all of the shit that The Rock has been talking for the past couple of weeks. And then this past Friday, getting really personal, now targeting Cody's mother, talking about how he's going to intimidate her with a bloody belt that he's going to beat Cody with, and all this nonsense. And I just felt like tonight on Raw, we could not have Cody coming out in a suit and being all nice and happy and kind and relaxed and that type of thing. He had to be a little bit out of form, you would think, based on everything The Rock said. And, you know, I think that Cody's promo tonight will spark a good amount of debate online, you know, all week and stuff. But I think overall, I was relatively satisfied with it. What I didn't want is the same old Cody. I needed maybe not necessarily an enraged and incensed Cody, because I believe that anger is for amateurs. And if you're, you know, really a professional, you can control everything, but that doesn't mean that you can't be pissed off. And I think Cody is done playing with the games. He made that pretty clear tonight. He's going to be on SmackDown this Friday alone with Roman Reigns, as Paul Heyman has given his word that no one else will be there. We know The Rock will not be there either. So Cody and Roman, which is your night 2 main event, are finally going to take center stage this Friday on SmackDown. We haven't really seen that yet since all of this Rock fiasco started. So we're getting that on SmackDown on Friday. And I thought tonight on Raw was a big step in the feud between Cody and The Rock as well. So I feel like after Friday's SmackDown, we're going to be feeling pretty good about this Cody and Roman match at WrestleMania, and I liked everything that we heard tonight from Cody. Also liked what we saw from Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. That was very good. I got to hand it to both of them, specifically Drew McIntyre and Seth as well. You know, Seth is involved with that whole thing with Cody and The Rock and everything, and that has somehow not really diminished this feud with McIntyre because it's been so good, and McIntyre's been doing such great work, as has Seth. And the promo battles between the two of them up until now have been really good. And then the one we got tonight was also really good and really helps set the table for what we're going to see at WrestleMania. Seth Rollins, even though he's all about jokes and he's a spotlight junkie, an admitted spotlight junkie, he still has been on the stage before, and he said some pretty cool things to Drew. I mean, some jabs there that made a lot of sense. You know how Drew had his big moment in the empty warehouse, but every time he had an opportunity when the fans were back, he dropped the ball, where when the lights are on bright, that's when Seth Rollins shines the brightest. So he kind of reminds, which I liked, he reminded Drew McIntyre who he is. He's every bit, actually more so decorated than McIntyre, honestly. So I really liked that from Seth tonight, that he kind of reminded Drew McIntyre that you're not playing with some fucking joking clown kid here. You know, I'm a multi-time world champion that's been on the WrestleMania stage and won championships on that stage before, beating some of the biggest names we've ever seen. So don't look past me, asshole. And he made that very clear tonight, and I thought that was good. Plus, we got a little promo package vignette of CM Punk talking about WrestleMania, that he's going to be there whether he's invited or not, and he's booked for the next week's Raw, 1 week from tonight in Chicago. Punk is going to make his return, and right now it really feels like they're setting up Punk screwing over McIntyre in that match. But I've still got my eye on Damian Priest, and I think it might be a combination of both. But one thing that will be pretty ironic and tickle me pink is if Seth Rollins is the only person to come out of WrestleMania with his championship intact. I've pretty much had him pegged to lose that title for months now, but the closer we get to WrestleMania, hell man, I'm not so sure. I think everybody's going to be coughing up their belts except for Seth. And I think even maybe Becky's going to fall short. So I think Seth and Ripley might actually walk out still champions, where maybe Roman and Gunther and maybe even the tag champs lose their belts, you know, and then there's also the possibility of Senior Money in the Bank cashing his shit in. So I did like what we heard from Cody, and I liked what we saw from Seth and Drew McIntyre. I thought that was really good. And shout out to the women in pro wrestling who have now main evented the last episode of Dynamite, SmackDown, and Monday Night Raw. I did not catch Rampage or Collision this week, so I'm not sure what main evented those shows. But on Wednesday, we had Willow Nightingale and Riho. And then on Friday, it was Bayley and Dakota, right? And then tonight was Nia Jax and Becky Lynch, who I thought had a really good last woman standing match. What a bump by Nia, taking the table bump, flat back bump off the apron through the table. And she didn't even look like she protected herself very well. She just hit the ground fucking hard. And that match, you know, I'm not going to say that the main event surprised me. And it was, a pleasant surprise to see it be so good. I actually knew going in that it was going to be good. Nia's been great since she's been back. So I had a lot of confidence in this main event tonight on Raw that it would be good. And I think of the 3 women's matches that we've seen over the past 5 days in the main event of cable TV shows, I might give the nod to this one, putting Riho and Willow in second place. So good stuff from the women. Shout out to them. And overall, a really fun episode of Raw tonight. And that's good to say because when you're this close to WrestleMania and you're in the middle of WrestleMania season, so many times in the past few years have we come up here for a Raw review during WrestleMania season and say things like, it doesn't seem like WrestleMania season right now, but this definitely does. The Cody and Heyman stuff, the Drew and Seth stuff, they have been building and promoting WrestleMania this year, I think, much better on TV than they have in recent years, especially in the McMahon days. And it feels a little bit more like WrestleMania season now. And of course, having The Rock being such a big part of this and has gone really far out of his way to make the entire weekend and the entire WrestleMania week about him, even with the Hall of Fame, and he's going to be main eventing night 1 and involved in the main event of night 2. And he's been able to really make this thing a rock-heavy event for the 40th WrestleMania. And I'm not really complaining because I've loved what The Rock has been doing. It was great to hear the heel Hollywood theme make its return to TV on Friday night. Loved that. We talked about that on Saturday in the podcast. And as a fan right now, I think it was a roller coaster getting to this point, but I think where we sit right now, I'm feeling good not only about how WrestleMania looks, but I'm feeling good with these shows. Raws and SmackDowns leading up to WrestleMania has given us stuff to talk about, and that has not always been the case in recent years. Sometimes it's just more of the same shit, the boring, uninspired shit from WWE, and you just have WrestleMania coming up, and they've just force-fed us some big matches. This really feels like, you know, every match on the card, at least announced so far, is pretty important. And that is what makes me happy. So good stuff tonight. Oh, and I'll talk about it in a minute, of course. But also shout out to Jimmy and Jey Uso, who did a great job in their opening promo on the show as well. And I loved what I saw from Jimmy on SmackDown on Friday with him officially accepting Jay's challenge. Good stuff and really good stuff here. So let me know what you thought about the show, A, B, C, or D, 1 through 10, that type of shit. And we'll go over here to the chat and say hello to everybody. Welcome. Thank you for being here. This is your Monday Night Raw review for March 18th, 2024. And we are now less than 3 weeks away. I think WrestleMania weekend was 3 weeks away from last night, right? Something like that. So we have just a couple of weeks left before we get to the big show. And they did also tonight announce, of course, CM Punk next week in Chicago. But then the week after that, April 1st, will be the Go Home Raw. That's in Brooklyn. And they've announced The Rock for the Go Home Raw. So The Rock will probably be very heavily involved that final week of WrestleMania. He'll be on Monday Night Raw. He'll be on SmackDown. He'll probably have something to do with the Hall of Fame as well. And it's going to be a busy night for the final boss, which Cody credits Brian Gewirtz for the nickname there for The Rock. But anyway, good to see you guys tonight. Thanks for being here. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button for me. The subscribers have really taken a skid. Holy shit, they were flying into us the last couple months. All of a sudden, we've taken in like 10 subscribers in 2 weeks. What the fuck? So if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button and tell your friends, because for some reason, we've hit a little algorithm stall there. So hopefully things pick back up for WrestleMania season. But we're doing otherwise pretty good. We finally have surpassed over 100 channel members on the channel. So that's awesome. Thank you to all of the people who support with the memberships. And otherwise, we've been doing good. In all the other videos, the watch-alongs have been fun. Podcasts have been great. Great to have you guys, but still need the engagement, the likes, the comments, the comments in the comment section below if you're watching this on demand. And of course, the subscriptions and the likes and all that good stuff. So hook me up with that and I would appreciate it. Good to see our friends like Zane G and JJ Leg, who's given tonight's show a 7.5 out of 10. I agree with that, for sure. Sorry, I'm turning my little space heater off because it's fucking hot as hell in here. There we go. Right on 7.5 out of 10. I agree with JJ on that. Good to see Jay Lambo here as well. We also have Rarely Even chiming in with an early $5. Do you see any scenario where Roman Reigns retains? We'll talk about that later. I can certainly envision scenarios, sure. I just don't think that's the decision to make this year. You know, we'll talk more about that, but I do know there is a pretty vocal camp out there that believes Roman Reigns should retain. I just question their motives on that. I don't think they really believe that. I think that they are annoyed by equally vocal Cody fans, and that's what drives opinions these days, is what can disappoint the people that you've decided to waste your time not liking, and that's how you determine what you like and don't like now, based on what others like and don't like, and I think that's fucking silly. I think people should like what they like and not worry about anybody else. But yes, I can see a scenario with where Roman retains. I just think that would be fucking stupid. And we'll talk about that later on when we get into the Cody stuff. Red Raven Rucker is here as well. So is Sonic Plays. I'm hitting all these channel members first. We have Ben Espinoza, the Juliet, Max Pokebra, Jordan Karg, Mike Witt, and the David Brown is here. Good to see you as well. Mike Witt's got 5 for us. Appreciate that, my friend. Hey, Greg and chat, I may be reading into things too much, but did you see Punk wearing an Avengers t-shirt tonight? Cody's Avengers versus Bloodline WrestleMania. Yeah, I didn't even notice he was wearing an Avengers t-shirt. I don't know much about the Avengers. But Punk being one of Cody's Avengers, taking down the Bloodline, I mean, that might still be coming. It depends on what they do at WrestleMania. But if the Bloodline still remains intact past WrestleMania, you know, Cody could assemble, you know, a group like a Seth and a Jay and a Punk to take out the Bloodline. But Punk's got to get healthy first. And I think Punk is going to be more involved with whatever goes on with McIntyre and Rollins at WrestleMania, if anything else. But Punk likes to wear shirts. At least he wasn't wearing a Bret Hart this time. Thanks again for 5 more. Rarely Even. I think we might see a tag team return at Mania. They have to fill spots in that tag team showcase. That's right, they do. They're going through the process of that right now on Raw and SmackDown. Who's out there that we're missing? Are we missing a big team or something like that could make a return? I mean, the Hardys again, but they're both locked into AEW deals, so it's not going to be them. Although Matt Hardy and Rebby apparently were at Raw tonight, sitting up in one of the skyboxes. Matt doesn't live far away from that arena in Raleigh, so I think they took in the show tonight, maybe secretly, and there has been a lot of talk about Matt's contract and that it might be nearing completion or being up for renewal soon, and there might be some negotiation going on right now in AEW with Matt Hardy, but we'll see what happens at Mania. I also want to welcome and say hello to Gerard. I want to say hi to Gilbert, Daniel Barry Sports, 7th season, Vash Starwind, Ronnie Matthews, Kevin Plays, Stephen Harris, Decimania, Big J, Chaz Medeiros, Dave Sims, Roman Stone, Shellshock 29, Green P, Diego Luis. We also have Sex Machine is here, and I think that's about it. Roddy K, good to see you. Anybody else chiming in? Good to have you here. 9 out of 10 from David, 8 out of 10 from Juliet, 7 out of 4. What's it called when a fraction where the top number's higher? And not an incomplete fraction. I forgot. I haven't been to school in 30 fucking years. What's it called when the fraction's upside down? Whatever the fuck that's called. You got to simplify the fraction. What is it? I conjugate the verb. I forgot what it is. I forgot how to work fractions, but you got to do something with that fraction. Right there, Stephen Harris. But good to see you guys as well. Shellshock, let's read what he says here. I feel like the people who want Roman to retain are a mix of contrarians and salty Roman Rock fans who have to wait a year for the Anoa'i family dick measuring contest. I guess. I don't know really what their motivation is. I've been pretty invested in what Cody has done, and I thought he's done a great job all year. And at least last year, you know, I'm a big Roman fan. I've not been annoyed or frustrated with the length of his title run. I even let him slide on the victory last year against Cody. I wasn't screaming and yelling, it was a wrong decision. I still think Cody should have won last year, but I could I could understand the decision not to. Like, I could see it. This year is completely different. This year, with everything they're doing in the story they're currently telling us, for Cody to lose now would be pretty whack, especially, his mom was going to be there. And I suggested something on the podcast on Saturday that I would seat Rock's mom and Cody's mom next to each other. And I think that maybe if you got to that point with The Rock and he's going to do to Cody's mom what he said, maybe that begins his either transition or change of heart back to a babyface if he goes over to Cody's mom to intimidate her with her son's bloody weight belt, and then Rock sees his own mother sitting right there. He might have a little attack of conscience or something like, oh, is this what I want to be doing? Is this the behavior that my family can be proud of? This is my own mother sitting right here, and maybe puts himself in Cody's mom's shoes, and maybe it makes him think differently or something like that, they could always do, I think would be fun, unless Cody and Rock's mom start fighting with each other. That would be great too. I don't care what they do as long as it's fun, but there's a lot to think about when it comes to Monday Night Raw. So before we get into Raw tonight, though, let's talk a little bit about some wrestling news. I didn't write down much, only one tidbit that I wrote down, and that is WWE announced today that on April 1st on Peacock, they're going to be releasing a documentary called Becoming Immortal that's going to be chronicling the life and career of Bray Wyatt. Now, of course, Bray Wyatt passed away a few months ago, and there was talk of him going into this year's Hall of Fame. And when Paul Heyman was announced for the Hall of Fame first, that was a red flag to me. I said, Bray Wyatt, when he goes in, he needs to be the headliner. But Paul Heyman going in a city like Philadelphia, he also needs to be the headliner. So that was the first indicator that Bray Wyatt might not be going in this year. And now as we're getting closer, we've heard, Meltzer has said that he's not going in. The list is complete once they do announce the Rock's grandmother, that the list is going to be complete and Bray Wyatt won't be going in this year. But there was talk of WWE filming content for a Bray Wyatt project. And I guess it turns out this is what the project was for. They ran a trailer for it tonight on Monday Night Raw as well, where it does look like JoJo is interviewed and maybe Bo Dallas, maybe some of his other family members. I saw Braun Strowman on there. And a lot of people, I'm sure, John Cena and others who have worked with him that are going to be a part of this project. And that's going to be coming out April 1st, the same day that I drop a big WrestleMania-themed video. That's going to be going up the same day as the Bray Wyatt documentary, and I believe that is a Monday. So that's probably going to be a situation where after Raw, I'm going to watch that with Elizabeth. So I'll try to get my thoughts on the documentary probably on the WrestleMania prediction show that'll be coming up a couple of days after that. But the Bray Wyatt documentary looks like it's going to be tough to watch, but also really, really well done and really, really well made. And I'm kind of ready and not ready for it, and that's coming up on April 1st, Bray Wyatt Becoming Immortal. And then maybe next year we can talk about a headlining Hall of Fame type of situation for him, give it another year. I do feel like back in 2006, they rushed Eddie Guerrero. I think it was the Hurt talking. It was the Hurt talking. They just wanted to get him into the Hall of Fame when they probably could have waited a year and, let everything settle and then, and then do something for him. I feel like they rushed it, and you shouldn't rush something like this. And so Bray Wyatt, this documentary being released on WrestleMania weekend in a lot of ways is going to be even better than the Hall of Fame, because the Hall of Fame is kind of a shell of what it used to be. And this is going to be, I think, a much better way of honoring Bray Wyatt and what will probably be like a 2-hour documentary, I assume, on Wyatt. So that's going to be nice to see that. And I guess we'll start talking about Bray Wyatt in the Hall of Fame during another year. So that was big news coming out of WWE. And that should add to what's already going to be a very, very busy WrestleMania week. Now, speaking of WrestleMania, available on the channel right now is a WrestleMania 40 playlist that I just created today. And I have filled that playlist with everything that we've done so far this year, like the WrestleMania watch-alongs we've done this year. We've done 5, 8, 22, and 24. I've also posted the links to our final 2 classic WrestleMania watch-alongs that we're going to do on the next 2 Sundays before WrestleMania. This coming Sunday, we're going to watch a WrestleMania from the last time they were in Philadelphia, WrestleMania 15, a show that I attended live in person, Rock and Austin Part 1 at WrestleMania. We're going to be watching that this coming Sunday. 1 week from this Sunday, 2 weeks from last night, we're going to be watching WrestleMania 13. So the links to both of those watch-alongs are in that WrestleMania 40 season playlist, along with about 6 other links to everything that we're going to be doing WrestleMania week, like the Hall of Fame, like predictions. I got my WrestleMania predictions link is already up. The SmackDown and Hall of Fame Friday before WrestleMania, the link to that review is up. Then night 1 and night 2, I have links to both of those shows up already on YouTube, and we're going to do a full-on watch party of both nights, watch party and recap and review of night 1 and night 2. And then we're even going to be back the following night after WrestleMania night 2, the Raw after Mania, for a full review. The link to that particular video is not up yet, but the link to everything else is. So please take a look at that WrestleMania 40 playlist available now. I've got the Solid Monster and Brian Zane collabs in there as well. And I've got a pretty big week of videos coming up this week. This coming Wednesday, I'm dropping a classic WrestleMania review on Wednesday. And then this coming Friday, I'm going to hit you with another YouTube collab. So it is a good time to be subscribing. Get your subscribe on over here because I got content coming out the ass to you guys. Stay tuned for that. Check out the playlist. And it's going to be a fun next couple weeks on the channel. I'm ready for it. I went to WrestleMania last year, so I wasn't here to enjoy it with you guys. And of course, the year before that was just, I don't know, 38 felt a little bit off, although I did love the Cody victory. And then, of course, 37, we had just come back from the pandemic, and they had the thunderstorm. And then before that, it was the pandemic. So it feels like this is the first WrestleMania season that I've been like legit stoked for. And it's the 40th WrestleMania, and I get to hang out with all of you guys. Looking forward to it. So that should do it for all the pleasantries there and the BS. We can get into our action here. Before we do, let's hit another $5 super chat from Rarely Even. Thank you so much for that. I think the most likely scenario is still Rock and Cody playing Roman like a fiddle, getting him uncomfortable. Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't want the most likely one. I want them to surprise me somewhat, because I think the most likely scenario is Cody winning the title at WrestleMania. It's what happens between that moment and now that I think can be the most fun, especially if WWE is able to fill me with some doubt, and then they go through it anyway. Rock going back to being a babyface feels like it's very possible and very likely, but there's several ways to get to that. It doesn't have to be Rock being a double agent. Rock could just have a change of heart. Like I mentioned with Cody and Rock's mom, you know, if Rock went out there to do that to Cody's mom and then he sees his own mom sitting there, even the biggest heel might have some reservations about doing what he's about to do when his mother is looking right at him. You know what I mean? So there's lots of ways they could do it. Population 420, good to see you, my friend. 19-month member, you think you're having a midlife crisis. Well, it happens to the best of them. I think I'm having one too. I'm going to be 47 years old this year. I'm halfway to, 94 or some shit? Jesus Christ. Happens, man. Don't sweat it. We all get old. We all die. We have Rarely Even back with 5 more. The Dudleys at Mania, Greg, Paul Heyman, Philly ladder match. Oh, the Dudleys, yeah. They're probably attainable because Bubba has his head firmly up the ass of WWE at all times. Just listen to his fucking podcast. My God. And I think Devon is still floating around the company, isn't he? So they could probably do something in Philly. Yeah. I don't want them to win the titles, though. They already came back like 9 years ago and won the titles, didn't they? Wasn't the Dudley Boys and the Outlaws both in the ring in like 2015? That was wild to me. So the Dudleys, I would like to see them have an appearance. But coming in and doing what the Hardys did, like the Hardys won the titles that night, doing that with the Dudleys in Philly, sure, the pop would be good, but is that what we want to be doing? I don't know, but it would make a moment. Rarely Even. That's what's important. 2 more bucks from Mike Witt. Off work Sunday, Mania 2 watch along, please. The links are already up, Mike. It's already a done deal. I decided on WrestleMania 15 and WrestleMania 13. So WrestleMania 2 and WrestleMania 1, are going to have to wait another year. I put them off. There was just too many more good ones to do. So the problem now, Mike, is next year we are so screwed because now it's going to be WrestleMania 1, WrestleMania 2, WrestleMania 11, WrestleMania 9. Some shitty ones. All that's left is shitty ones. We've knocked out pretty much all the good ones and even a few shitty ones. So unfortunately, unless I can squeeze it in, Mike, I'm not sure if Mania 2 is going to happen this year. All right. Let's get into Monday Night Raw. Tonight's Monday Night Raw was from Raleigh, North Carolina, the PNC Arena. I've been in that building a few times for wrestling shows before, and I kind of have a bittersweet memory. I was in Raleigh in that very building, and it was a brand new building at the time. About 24 years ago, to the day almost, it was the April 24th, 2000 edition of Monday Night Raw, and it was right in the same building where they were tonight, and that was the night where Trish Stratus was doing like the backstage vignette where she was in her lingerie and she's laying on a table and she's trying to like seduce Bubba Dudley. And then the main event was Chris Benoit and Triple H with Stephanie and Vince in their corner taking on The Rock and Chris Jericho with Shane McMahon as the special guest referee. So a wild night in Raleigh back in 2000. And I remember that vividly because it was the day after Easter. And the day before Easter, my grandfather passed away in a really, really eerie. I'll spare you the long story, but the short story is my grandfather was mowing the grass and he had an aortic aneurysm when he was in the yard, and a neighbor kind of saw him, crouched over. They tried to get to him, didn't get him to the hospital in time, and he passed away because his aorta burst and blood just filled his body cavity, and that's what killed him. And it happened like on their 51st wedding anniversary. It was this whole sad thing. And so this is going on a Saturday afternoon, and I'm at work. I'm at my job at work. And while I'm at work, we just start having this random conversation with the coworkers about family members passing away. And like 2 or 3 people tell stories of their grandfather passing away. And then I tell a story of one of my friends who actually had his grandfather pass away at his birthday party when he was a little kid, traumatizing him to death. I think it was like his 10th birthday. Birthday with balloons and, family there all celebrating. Grandpa passes out, keels over and dies right there in front of my friend. So we're sharing stories about how loved ones have passed away. And then I work my shift at work. This is before cell phones and everything, so I'm just at work. I get home, I open up my apartment door, and not only do I see a bunch of messages on my answering machine, but I left my air conditioner on. So it's like 22 degrees below zero. I walk into a meat cooler. I walk into my house, I'm like, God damn, I'm like, holy shit, I left my AC on. So it's cold like death. I'm at work discussing death all night with my coworkers. And then I hit play on my answering machine and it's my mom saying, give me a call. So I call her and that's when she tells me that my grandfather passed away. And I was like very saddened by it, but I'm like, this is eerie. This is really eerie. The whole conversation at work and now I'm home and it's cold and all this stuff. It was fucking crazy. And so that happened on a Saturday. I already had tickets to Monday Night Raw and I think the Raw taping after that. And she's like, we're going to need you to fly out like on I think it was like on Wednesday or something. I'm like, okay. So I booked my flight to fly out up north on Wednesday to go to the funeral and that whole thing. But I still had my wrestling tickets. And I remember I'm like, well, I'm not on the plane yet. I'm not flying out until Wednesday. I'm home. Do I just not go to the shows? Like I felt like I still have to go to the shows. My grandpa would want me to go to the shows. Plus, what I'm going to do, just sit around and pout? It's not like I was flying out then. I was flying out a few days after, so I was home, and so I went. I still went to the shows and had a good time, but, that was really weighing on my mind because it was kind of sudden. It was just a sad fucking thing, and that was 24 years ago. So anyway, bittersweet personal memory that Greg wanted to share with you, since Raw was in the same building where I used to live back in the day all those years ago. But enough about Greg's grandpa. Let's talk about tonight's WWE Raw. The show opened up with Jey Uso coming out to a great ovation. Just that visual of, I think they said 14,000 were in the arena tonight for Monday Night Raw. WWE just crushing it with their attendance lately. And Jey Uso coming out, I'm telling you, he's got that thing over with the arms. I mean, it's kind of reminiscent of the Yes, because when I can't remember his name. I wanted to say a combination of Bryan Danielson and Daniel Bryan, and it almost came out. So when Danielson used to do that, I used to think it was so cool, especially when there would be like a pullback wide shot of the crowd, everybody doing that. It looked just badass. And with Jay getting that thing over in the yeet, I'm so happy that he's an over babyface and fans are into him, and Raleigh was rocking for Jay. Now, Jimmy on Friday night had a really good response to Jey Uso's challenge, where he accepted on Friday on SmackDown and just cut that great promo in the parking garage. And I'm like, ooh, all of a sudden I care about this again, because they've both been doing great work, and everything that they did at the Rumble and stuff was pretty much telling you what we were going to see at WrestleMania. But it felt like it took us a while to actually get these guys in there face to face. And we got that tonight, because when Jey Uso came to the ring, he called out Jimmy right away. He said, I know you're here. Why don't you come out here? And Jimmy and Solo Sikoa came through the crowd. And they come through the crowd. Jimmy gets in the ring, and they have this epic kind of face-off. And Jay, kind of gets a little bit emotional. He says that he misses Jimmy. I miss you, man. And we haven't talked. We don't ride together. We don't do anything together. And he just wants him to come back. Just come back, he says. I just want my bro. I think Jimmy's the older one, right? I want my brother back. And Jimmy says that he never left. He said it was your decision to leave the bloodline. But I think Jimmy left it first, didn't he? I'm kind of confused. I kind of forgot who left who first. But I thought it was Jimmy that was kind of on the outs at first, like at the very first, when the Thunderdome's still going on and Jay's facing Roman. Jimmy was kind of out at that point, and then he came back and they teamed up, and then Jay left. I don't know. It's a little bit confusing, but I guess they were trying to explain, the history there. And Jimmy says that he never left Jay, that Jay left him. And everything that he's done up until this point has been to protect him, which I find a little weird. And Jimmy said all of Jay's biggest moments are all because of Jimmy, gives him credit, or gives himself credit for all of that. And he says, I think Jay, I'm trying to read my own notes because I made some typos here, because I wish you guys could read this, because that's complete fucking gibberish. But I do remember Jey Uso kind of turning the tables there on the mic, getting a chance to say his piece. And he said, when Jimmy's talking about all of those great moments that were because of Jimmy, Jay says, no, my biggest moment will be at WrestleMania when I knock the yeet out your ass. And then he punches him and we get a brawl. Solo jumps up to kind of distract Jay just enough for Jimmy to pounce and take control. And then Jimmy and Solo lay down the attack. And you knew that Cody had to come out here. And I even mentioned that on Saturday. I'm like, another thing that Cody could do, if he really is angry about what The Rock's saying, he did himself say on Raw a couple of weeks ago that he was going to be hunting the bloodline. So he should come out and take out one of these guys, specifically Solo, who I don't think is going to have a match at WrestleMania. So I was like, oh, this would be a perfect opportunity for Cody to come out with a lead pipe and just take out Solo, like eliminate him and put him in the hospital and say, you're down a man now. What are you guys going to do now? So maybe just a little preemptive strike there, because even if Seth and Cody win, who's to say that Roman's going to agree to the terms and still have it be no bloodline? Somebody could still interfere. So Cody could use that as motivation to take these guys out. But he did come out and make the save, hit a Cody cutter in dress pants. So please don't get hurt, Cody. This close to WrestleMania, runs off the heels, him and Jey Uso stand tall, and it was cool to see Cody come out and help him. So then we go backstage, and Paul Heyman is arriving. He's kind of late because he had some flight issues or whatever, and he's backstage with Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce is pissed off because I think he was even on the phone with Nick Aldis yelling at him, what the fuck, dude? You got your guys here showing up, and that's not what coexisting is supposed to be about or whatnot. And then Heyman shows up and kind of apologizes for what happened, and he said, Jimmy and Solo are gone from your building. And Pierce is like, that's fine, but what are you doing here? And he goes, well, I've got some business to attend to, but I promise that I will also leave once my business here is finished. And then he walks off. Then we get one of those Mania ladder match qualifiers. So I think they're going to do the same thing that they did on SmackDown on Friday. They had 2 matches where the winners will face each other next week. So the same thing happened here. First matchup was DIY versus the Creed brothers. This was a really fun match. Crowd ate it up. I feel like the Creed brothers have somewhat slowed down or stalled a bit since they had that botch on Raw with the Judgment Day, right? Wasn't it Damian Priest that was a little bit pissed off at him or whatever? And I feel like they haven't been as primarily featured or as heavily featured as they were before that happened, you know? So I wonder if that maybe stalled their push out a little bit. So based on that, I wasn't thinking they were going to win here. I mean, if this match would have happened a month ago, I would have said, oh, Creed brothers are going to advance. But instead, they just went out there and had a really, really great match with DIY. Crowd ate it up like crazy, and a really good finishing sequence there with the Creed brothers going for the Brutus ball, which Tommaso Ciampa countered into a victory roll, I think, on Julius. And then Brutus comes over and tips him back over the other way, so Julius is now pinning Ciampa. But then Gargano comes and takes out Brutus, and then he super kicks Julius in the face, which rolls the pinning combination back over the other way, and DIY was able to get the win. But that was a fun match. So DIY advances to face the winners of the Indus Sheer and Awesome Truth match that we would see later. Then we go backstage. Judgment Day is chilling out, and Andrade is with them. And Dominic is talking with him, and he says that it's a different place. It's different around here than last time you worked here. Judgment Day's all the rage now. We run the show. And Rhea says, who is also there, says that they don't just offer invitations to anyone. And they might be interested in doing business with Andrade. Finn Balor comes in wearing some crazy looking shit and says that Andrade has a match next week and all of Judgment Day will be watching. And Andrade says, okay, good to know. And he's about to leave, and then Damian Priest shows up. So he says hello to Priest, and a little bit of tension, but maybe not. And they basically exchange pleasantries, and Andrade walks away. Now, JD, who was getting in Andrade's face saying, this is an exclusive club, you can't come in, as hard as it was for him to actually get in. Now he's all like, you can't get in here. So he's running his mouth, and Judgment Day kind of checks him like, look, you fucked up last week. We were expecting you to win that gauntlet and go on to WrestleMania, face Gunther. Yeah, like that would happen. And because he fucked up, it's going to be up to him to make it right. And then Rhea kind of says, no, we're going to have Dom make it right. So Dominic is going to face Ricochet later to try to get revenge for JD's loss in that gauntlet match last week. We also had the continuation of what appears to be a heel turn, for Candice LeRae, as her and Indy Hartwell defeated Katana and the other one. Now, Katana, I think, gets an injury during the match, injures her leg, and Candice does not show her any sympathy or remorse and takes advantage of it and makes her tap out. So Indy is kind of doing I don't know how I feel about this type of thing. And Candice is getting a little bit more aggressive, which I like. I mean, she's got a hardcore side to her. Before she got to WWE, she was doing some great shit. She has that viral video of her taking that lumbar check up to fucking outer space, which is nuts. I know she's wrestled men and been put through tables before. I mean, the girl can scrap, but she just doesn't look like she's someone like that in the WWE environment. She looks way too nice and happy and pretty and quiet and soft-spoken, and she just needs to be, if they want to turn her into an asshole, if they want to make her a little bit more like maybe Alexa Bliss would have been when she was a heel, making fun of Nia Jax's weight and shit like that, if they want to turn her into that type of a character, then, they might have some work to do. But seeing her kind of take advantage and having no remorse or sympathy, good way to instill a killer instinct in her. But if she does go heel, I don't know. I need Candice to really go in a reverse direction of what she's doing now, I think, for me to really care about this. But at least she's not treading water anymore, and they're trying to actually do something with her. So that's good for Candice. Now it was time for Cody's promo. I kind of thought Cody might open the show. I thought he might storm out to the ring, just demanding to open the show first because he has things he needs to say to The Rock. But he waited until the top, I think, of the second hour. And it's Cody out there for the second time, as he did show up in the opening match, to talk and respond to The Rock. Now, earlier on in the day, Cody arrived to the building and he had his dog. Pharaoh was there wearing like a little a bandana that said The Rock is a cat. So I guess that's Pharaoh's insult to The Rock, calling him a cat. I don't think that's an insult. Tito's a cat and Tito's fucking awesome. Fat piece of shit. He's sleeping so hard right there right now. Doesn't even hear me making fun of him and calling him names, but he's over there and he's awesome. So I don't know why calling him a cat is an insult. You know, at least the cat uses the bathroom, doesn't go shit out in the yard. So come on, Pharaoh. What's up? But anyway, Pharaoh's there wearing Rock is a cat bandana. So that happened earlier on in the day. And then, of course, we saw Cody come out in the beginning to save Jey Uso in that opening promo. And now it was time for him to speak. And I was looking forward to this because I really needed Cody. You know, he didn't need to be flying off the rails mad, but he definitely needed to convey the message that he ain't playing games with this motherfucker anymore. And I feel like he achieved that to a certain degree. And, you know, he got out there and he talked about what The Rock said and talked about how The Rock mentioned that he's, the world's favorite heel or whatever. And Cody's like, heel's an insider term for bad guy. And you want to be the bad guy. And he doesn't really think The Rock is a heel. He just thinks he's an asshole. And that's very, very simple, but also very, very true. You know, that's not like a really controversial line of dialogue there or anything like that. But simple sometimes is best. And if there's one word that you would describe The Rock's character, it would be asshole. So that's a pretty simple and good and effective description of The Rock, I think. And Cody goes on to talk about The Rock throwing shade at him for crying last week. But he said, isn't crying what you've been doing behind the scenes all this time, which I liked. You know, once you got your WrestleMania match taken away or however he worded it, you know, talked about crying to his team, his TKO team about, not being a part of WrestleMania or whatever. And talking about how Rock and his ego thought that he needed to save WrestleMania. And he's like, I got news for you. WrestleMania doesn't need saving. And I loved that he brought that up because that's what I was saying. And Cody was like, you got a lot of yes men around you. And I'm not a yes man. I'm going to give it to you straight. But when Rock is saying, oh, I should come in and make this the biggest WrestleMania ever. Me and Roman Reigns have this epic match. And everybody on his team is saying, oh, yes, Mr. Rock. Yes, Mr. Dwayne. That's a great idea. Cody's probably a little bit shooting there. That's probably really the way it was going. And Cody bringing up the fact that WWE didn't need, or WrestleMania didn't need saving from The Rock is exactly what I was saying right when all of this shit started. Back then, even after Punk's injury, I was still feeling pretty good. But before then, when Punk was still a part of this, I'm like, look at how WrestleMania is shaping up right now. We don't need The Rock coming in here and fucking all this up. It's looking great. You know, so Cody is right. WrestleMania didn't need saving. One of my biggest arguments for not doing Roman Reigns and The Rock at this year's WrestleMania is because of how big and successful this WrestleMania is going to be already. You should take that match and use it to make another show like the Chamber in Perth, or a Saudi Arabia show, or an international Backlash, or SummerSlam, or something like that. Or wait until next year's WrestleMania to book it. To do it now, you're coming in, shoehorning yourself in the middle of a story you've been telling for the past year, and that doesn't make any creative sense to me. But Greg, Roman and Rock is the biggest match, and they do have a story. Yes, but it's not a story that they've been currently telling you. They would be saying, oh, remember that story we've kind of referenced a few times? Here, we're going to stick it right in the middle of the story we've been hammering down your fucking throat for the past year. That's what would be stupid about that. And Cody bringing that up and kind of referencing that WrestleMania didn't need saving from The Rock, that WrestleMania didn't need any increase and boost in attendance or ratings or buy rates or whatever. It is going to do incredible record-setting revenue guaranteed for the company. So I just didn't think having Rock and Roman this year would be a very smart idea. And when it briefly looked like they were going to go in that direction, we came up here and started shitting our pants about it. I'm like, are they out of their minds? Are they on crack? They must be on crack. They must be living in Phoenix or wherever that city was that Rock referenced, because that's just asinine. So the fact that they kind of repivoted and gone back to their, original plan and have made it work out so well, man, they got so fucking lucky. They're lucky that Rock is a talented guy. And they're lucky that Cody is a beloved babyface, because this could have gone so awry. And the fact that they have pulled the nose up they're on the bike there, and the handlebars started getting wobbly, but they've stabilized themselves now, and we're looking at a pretty good WrestleMania on paper, shaping up here in a couple of weeks. Is mind-blowing to me because they came really, really close to fucking that up. So Cody bringing that up, I liked. I didn't think it, it crossed any line or pulled back the curtain any harder than, LA Knight calling AJ a mark or Rock calling himself a heel or anything like that. I liked that. And I thought it made a lot of sense for Cody to bring that up, especially, since The Rock can call a lot of his own shots and whatnot, and letting The Rock know that the people around you are probably just telling you what you need to hear. They don't really mean that. I kind of thought was cool. So at some point you knew he was going to be bringing up the mom thing, which he did. And he said, since you brought up my mom, maybe I'll bring up yours. And he talks about The Rock's mom. And he goes, you know what? I know your mom. She's a wonderful lady. I respect her. And that's a respect that should be echoed to my mom. And so I like that Cody didn't fight fire with fire there. He didn't attack The Rock's mom, who didn't do anything wrong. He respects The Rock's mom. He even talked about a time where she held Kevin Owens while he slapped him or something like that at a house show or something. She got involved recently since he's been back to WWE. So bringing up The Rock's mom and not shitting on her and calling her a wonderful lady, I like that. And like I said, I think it would be cool if Rock and Cody's mom were kind of seated next to each other at WrestleMania, and that could play some sort of a role in whatever story they're going to tell you on night 1 or night 2. So he says that The Rock, had a lot of things to say about his mom, but The Rock doesn't know his mom. And his mom's a tough cookie, and he best not toy with her because she once beat up an undercover cop at a Willie Nelson concert. That's a random sentence I wasn't expecting to hear about Cody's mom. She beat up an undercover cop at a Willie Nelson concert. That's awesome. That makes Cody's mom pretty A-okay in my book. And that's when Cody delivers the line, LDS. And he talks about The Rock bringing all that Dwayne energy to Mania. Is he going to be able to bring all of that big Dwayne energy to Mania, or will it just be LDS, Little Dick Syndrome? So finally, it sounds like the talent has gotten a little bit of leniency with what they can say, because we did hear the report this week. We touched on it just briefly on Saturday's podcast about some of the talent reportedly being frustrated or angry that The Rock can say whatever he wants and he doesn't have to adhere to PG guidelines on social media or in the ring. And some talent might be frustrated with that. And I was like, well, guess what, talent? Too fucking bad. You're not The Rock. He is. Life is unfair. Life is unfair. That's the way it goes. If you want to have these liberties as well, then just become The Rock. Go out there and become the greatest and biggest movie star in the world, and then you can do this too. I found that laughable. Everybody should understand by now that sometimes, yes, sometimes rules don't apply to some that apply to others. That's the way life is. And with The Rock, it's no different. I think The Rock should be allowed to say whatever the fuck he wants on social media and in his promos, be as real as possible. And if the talent isn't allowed to do that to the same degree that The Rock is, well, it's The Rock. If The Rock wasn't there, nobody would be doing this. So I think just, Rock has certain things he can get away with. He doesn't answer to anybody. WWE can't fire him. He can't be fired from WWE. I mean, I don't think anyway. I don't know if he can be fired from his talent contract unless he failed a wellness policy, but I don't even think he's getting tested for anything. So Rock is bulletproof. He's unfireable. It does not matter what he does, what he says. He has that stroke. That's the way it goes in the world. So I kind of found it funny that the talent was sad about that. Oh, too fucking bad. Nut up. But Cody first he called The Rock an asshole and they didn't even bleep it. And now he talked about his little dick syndrome. So, which again might be, a little dose of reality there too. A little bit of a shoot. Rock ain't no Virgil. That's for sure. So bringing up the asshole thing and talking about little dick energy, it's nice to see that WWE at least acknowledged this report that, hey, Rock can say all these things, go fuck yourself, off is the direction that you can fuck and all this stuff. But yet the talent still has to, call him Diarrhea Dwayne and stuff. So Cody got a little gnarlier in his promo. I appreciated that. Ups the heat, ups the bad blood just a little bit more, and sets us up for something really fun, I think, at WrestleMania. Now, Cody also went on to credit Brian Gewirtz for the Final Boss nickname, but he doesn't feel like Rock is really a final boss. He says that Rock is more like Roman's side chick. So first he's an asshole, then he's got a little dick, now he's a side chick. Okay, so Cody's definitely getting his shots back here on The Rock. And that's when Paul Heyman comes out. Out walks Paul Heyman, and he apologizes to Cody. He apologized for what happened a few weeks back when he had those undercover or off-duty police officers that Cody assaulted, and he said that was a really stupid thing for me to do, and he apologizes, and he still continues to make his way to the ring, and as he starts to come up the stairs and get in the ring, Cody's like, hold on a minute. Certainly you're not just going to step right in here. Certainly you're going to have enough sense to ask permission before you come into this ring with me. And Heyman says, I think I'll just hang out right here on the apron is okay, if that's fine with you, Mr. Rhodes. And then goes on to say that he has guaranteed Cody that he has his word, he has Roman Reigns' word, the tribal chief's word, that if Cody shows up on SmackDown this Friday, that Roman will also be there all alone. He said he will be the only person with Roman Reigns, no bloodline, no Rock, which we already knew the Rock wasn't going to be there. He was going to be taking this week off. So this is a perfect opportunity to get your Cody and Roman face off, and your promo in the ring together, because we haven't gotten that yet. And this match is coming up in just a couple of weeks. Rock has been so in the middle of this. So now with Rock out of the picture, Cody and Roman can have this moment on Friday, and that should be a pretty big deal. I can't wait to make the thumbnail for Saturday's podcast after we get that confrontation on Friday. So Cody agrees, and he says, okay. And he will see Roman Reigns on Friday. So based on what we got there from Cody, I'm okay with what he said. I was so worried going into tonight's Raw that they could fuck this up with Cody. I'm like, as good and entertaining as The Rock is being, there is one, potential side effect to that is if you don't respond well, it can make your opponent look weak. And I think it was really important for Cody to respond appropriately tonight based on what Rock said about him and sang about him on Friday night. So given the material in Cody's promo, the asshole, the little dick energy, Roman side chick, I'm satisfied enough. I didn't come away from this saying, oh God, Cody looks like an idiot, which is good because there was a very, very real possibility if the writing team did not give him anything decent to say tonight. So him being able to bark back and respond to The Rock, I thought was great. I mean, he definitely seemed a little angry, definitely more serious, like the games are over type of thing, but he wasn't screaming and yelling and red-faced and veins bulging out of his head and shit like that. He was just basically looking forward, shall we say, to WrestleMania in a few weeks, and so am I. Backstage after the segment, Jey Uso approached Cody and said that he's got his back on Friday. You need me, you just say the word, I'll be there. And I think Cody thanked him, but kind of declined. Nope, I got this. It's going to be just me and Roman Reigns. But Jey said, all you got to do is say the word, man. I got you. I got you. I love, love, love their friendship. Good stuff. Then we get that Dominic and Ricochet match that was set up backstage. So Ricochet just plain beats Dominic here, gets the win over him. After the match, Ricochet gets out of Dodge because JD McDonough is out there with Dominic, and I think they try to get to Ricochet, but he scampers off and survives. I'm hoping to get Ricochet involved at WrestleMania, but he's not involved in any one-on-one program. I think this is going to have to be another multi-man deal, Andre Battle Royal type of thing on Friday. Not really sure where he fits in at this point, but he has been racking up some wins lately, which is kind of good because he's still super talented. A guy like that's so athletic and agile, you can't sleep on him because then you'll blink and then he's 35 and he can't do the shit he used to be able to do. So I would, if you're ever going to do anything with him, start doing it. Then we cut backstage. This is interesting. So we have Sami Zayn backstage. He runs into Chad Gable. Of course, Chad Gable and Sami Zayn were the two finalists in the gauntlet match last week that Sami Zayn won, beating Gable and earning the opportunity to face Gunther at WrestleMania. Now, Gunther and Sami are signing their contract later tonight, but Sami runs into Chad Gable first, kind of thanks him, congratulates him on a hard-fought match last week. He even said, we can go either way, but you could tell Chad was kind of like not having it. He's like, oh, yeah, uh-huh. And then Sami keeps prying. He goes, what's wrong? Is there something wrong? Something on your mind? And Chad is just not being cool about it. He goes, I wanted it more. Like, I wanted that match more. And I liked Sami's response. He goes, that's bullshit, man. He goes, I've gone through the same things as you. I've suffered the same frustrations and disappointments as you. And it's my career too. And I fight for things and I want to win championships. And it's not fair for you to presume what's important to me and what's not. And that's when Chad says, I'm upset because you can't beat Gunther. And he seems very adamant about that Sami can't get it done. So then Sami's got to go out to the ring now for the contract signing, which was up next. They've got the table there in the middle. Gunther is sitting there. And of course, the very first thing he says is, look at this. This is going to be the biggest Intercontinental Championship match in WrestleMania history. Why is he dressed like a bum? I'm sitting here dressed in my suit. He's probably wearing those dress pants with the no socks things that look fucking ridiculous. Give me what Sami's wearing any day. If I was doing a contract signing, I'd be dressed like Sami Zayn. I don't get dressed up. I fucking hate it. I fucking hate it. Don't like suits. Don't like tucking shirts in. Don't like any of that stuff. Never have. I'm like a little kid. I'm like a 10-year-old kid. I'm like, get this fucking shit off of me. So I'm just like Sami Zayn in that regard. So I don't understand why Cody and Gunther and guys like that want to come out in a fucking suit that's all tight and you're constricted in it and you're fucking pit sweat and everything. Like, nah, give me t-shirt and some Under Armour pants. I'm happy. And some kicks. That's all I need. It's all Greg needs. I'll go to a wedding like that. I don't give a fuck. So Gunther has a huge problem with how Sami is dressed. I did not. And Sami says, Gunther, why don't you wipe that stupid look off your face? Because it's starting to piss me off. And you're going to find out how good I am, blah, 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 whatever he says to him, and just immediately signs a contract. Sami's mad. Chad Gable got to him backstage. So Sami's a little bit kind of ornery. So he just signs a fucking thing and pushes it back. I think Gunther signs it too. And we get that match. Did they even have a brawl? I didn't write down anything else other than that. So I don't know if we actually got a brawl out of these guys. I don't think we did. I think the contract just got signed and we were good there because Sami would be backstage a little bit later with Chad Gable. I'm trying to find that. I want to skip ahead a little bit so we can talk about that. So right after the next match is when Sami tracks down Chad Gable in the back. So now you could tell he's irritated and he's angry by what Gable said. And he goes, I want to know why. Why did you say that I can't beat Gunther? And Chad is like, look, it's not just a physical thing. It's a mental thing. And Gunther is a different animal. And where you are mentally right now, as someone who's been in the ring with this guy a bunch of times, I can tell you, you cannot beat him with this mentality. So he's basically urging kind of Sami to change up his strategy and his mentality if he wants to have any shot of winning the IC title from Gunther. So I don't know if Gable's going to maybe get involved in this and maybe turn out to be a motivator for Sami. You can tell that he's on the verge of a heel turn or something here, Gable, and he's still a little irritated that he lost, probably a little salty about it, but maybe he could coach Sami Zayn, which is weird. Sami beat him last week. Even Sami told him in the previous encounter that, who are you to talk to me like this? I'm the one that beat you. You're the one that didn't get the job done. You came in last in the gauntlet match and I was injured and you still couldn't beat me. Fuck off, little fucker. So I think that, Gable trying to help Sami, that would be weird to try to sell, but maybe Sami is into it. And maybe that's a way of setting up Chad Gable, either number one, to maybe be inserted into this and make it a triple threat, or getting the championship match after the fact. Like if Sami Zayn does, in the contract signing, Sami mentioned how last year he ended the longest reigning tag team title run of all time, which I can't remember if that's true or not. Because if it is, that's pretty awesome if he also winds up ending the longest intercontinental title reign of all time in back-to-back years. That's huge. So if he does that, then maybe it's Gable and Sami for the championship after that. But the problem with that is Gable winning the intercontinental title would feel more important if Gable beat Gunther. So now we have to talk again about the possibility of Gunther actually retaining again at WrestleMania. I kind of want to see it be Sami, but the fact that they're still keeping Gable involved in this makes me wonder if there's more to this than meets the eye. But last year, I remember everybody had Gunther pegged to lose the title. And my predictions, I predicted him to retain. And a lot of people were surprised. I remember being up there. I was at my seat watching, and the way he won that match in the finish, the whole section was going nuts. I'm like, yeah, I fucking love Gunther. And I wanted to, I tweeted, like, I told you he was going to win. Like, I would have him break Honky Tonk Man's record at this point. Because he only has to make it till September, so why not? Once he beat McIntyre and Sheamus, I'm like, he's going to do it. He's going to fucking do it. And here we are again. He's shattered now Honky's record. He's long surpassed what Honky did. I think he's 200 plus days ahead of Honky now. And now it feels like it could be right. And Sami Zayn is one of my favorites in the business right now. I would love for him to beat Gunther, but the fact that Gable is still involved here makes me wonder if they're setting something else up to happen. I don't know. Then we got a little bit of a quick vignette about CM Punk returning to Monday Night Raw next week in Chicago. And in that vignette, he was doing some rehab, working out, whatever. And he says that he is going to be at WrestleMania, whether he's invited or not. So I feel like they're really setting up him being involved in the McIntyre and Rollins match. And that brought us to our next segment, which was Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. So Drew is coming out to cut a promo. He's making his entrance. He's halfway down the aisle, and his music stops, and Rollins' music starts to play. He comes out, he does his dancing, and he's having them all sing, and he just walks and blows right past Drew McIntyre as if Drew McIntyre doesn't exist. And they both basically, it was kind of funny seeing them go to the ring together, these opponents. I'm like, are they a tag team? So they're kind of both heading to the ring, although, you know, Seth just came out and cock blocked his entrance there, or blue balled him. And Rollins gets in the ring. He goes, my name is Seth Rollins, and I am a spotlight junkie. And he says a few things, and Drew's kind of chilling in the corner, just listening to him. And McIntyre, once he gets a chance to speak, you know, again, reminds Rollins about, you know, not taking him seriously, and everything is a joke to you, and you're such a fucking clown, and this is what's going to be your downfall and whatnot. And that's when Rollins says, oh, on the contrary, I might dance around and, you know, and get under your skin and everything. But if we want to talk about history here, you got your WrestleMania main event victory championship win in an empty warehouse. And every time you've had an opportunity, once the fans returned and the lights came back on, every opportunity you've had, you fumbled. Whereas, for example, moi, every time the lights are on bright, I shine. I have had bigger moments than you. I have won bigger matches than you. I am more decorated than you. He didn't say that, but it was implied, and he's kind of right. And it was a side of Seth that I really liked to see, because when it comes to stars like that, the caliber of Rollins, I think they should all have that mentality. When you're in the ring with somebody, now granted, McIntyre is still a very, very strong, decorated, you know, Hall of Fame caliber star, but I do argue that Seth is a little bit ahead of him in that regard in terms of everything that he's accomplished in the company. But anybody else, you know, would even be more lopsided. But I like that side of Seth saying, like, do you know who I am? You know, have you seen my career? Have you seen the people I've defeated? I've defeated a lot of people that have beaten you. I've been able to overcome mountains and hills that you have not. I've won bigger matches. They both have clean victories over Brock. Seth, although I think, has multiple victories over Brock. And throwing that in Drew's face and being like, yeah, I might sing and dance and wear my crazy outfits, but at the end of the day, I'm still Seth Rollins, and that's who you're facing at WrestleMania. And I like that McIntyre, who I think has been doing such great work. I'm so invested in him. I'm loving his character and his demeanor and his attitude right now, especially the way he really seems to be a troll, playing mind games, things like that. But Rollins is matching him here, because what Rollins is doing is reminding Drew. And, you know, he's not being intimidated by what Drew's saying to him. He's not letting Drew get inside his head. Instead, he's getting inside Drew's. And you would think that Seth's head is ripe. Seth has a lot going on. Seth is going to be involved in the biggest tag team match ever, main event of night one, before he defends his title. He's involved with this bloodline shit. He's highly motivated in ending the bloodline. He's very, very focused on that. And the fact that He's so focused on that, and he's still not allowing McIntyre to penetrate his brain. Still not allowing McIntyre to create that doubt in him. Maybe I am spreading myself too thin. Maybe I shouldn't be getting involved in this match with Cody. Maybe this is going to wind up costing my title. All of those things that McIntyre is attempting to put into Rollins' head, he isn't letting it in. Instead, he's putting thoughts in McIntyre's head and putting doubt in his head. Hey, bitch, when it comes to the biggest stage, I'm the one who succeeds here. You are not. The only time you did succeed, 14 people were there to see it in the fucking warehouse, so go fuck yourself. I like that. That's what I would say if I was Rollins. So that promo, we know WrestleMania is so heavily focused around The Rock and Cody and Roman. But that promo really brought the Drew Rollins and Seth Rollins issue a little bit more on equal ground, because now I've always been interested in this match. I think it's going to be an interesting match, but now maybe even more so. And like I said, I feel like CM Punk is an all but guarantee to be involved in that somehow, especially with the way McIntyre has been aggressively trolling him online and with the t-shirts and stuff. You know, he wouldn't be doing that if Punk wasn't going to have something to do with possibly his demise. So even though there was a time when I think Drew was the favorite to win the championship here at WrestleMania, I think maybe he won't be unless they do something where Punk attempts to cost Drew the match, but he fucks up and he costs Rollins the match instead. That could happen, but I feel like costing Drew would be a good way to either keep the belt on Seth or have Priest come out and cash in. We will have to see. After that, it was when they had the announcement for The Rock being at the Go Home Raw in Brooklyn in a couple of weeks on April 1st. So that's going to be a big day. April 1st, we have a special video dropping on the channel that morning, and we will be here that night for our Go Home Raw review. And that is the day that they drop the Bray Wyatt documentary on Peacock. So April 1st is a big one this year. After that, we had another ladder match qualifier. This was New Day defeating Akira Tozawa and Otis. Not much to say there. New Day wins. They advance. They will face, I guess, DIY next week. And then the winner of that match will qualify for that ladder match. But we still have like 5 other teams have got to qualify. So we haven't even determined any qualifiers yet, even though we've had these matches. So it's still Priest and Balor. All 5 of the teams are still yet to be determined. So we'll get one team on Friday, right? Then 1 week from tonight, we'll get another team. But that still leaves you with 3 other teams to determine. Oh, shit. Okay, so if Priest and Balor are going to face 5 teams, you can qualify 4 of them and then maybe have one surprise? Is that what are they going to do the Dudleys? Is that what we're doing? The Dudleys in this match? If they are in the match, fine, great, bring them in. It'll be fun, but they can't win. They can't win. If Dudleys are a part of this, I think it needs to be a novelty. Oh, cool, look, the Dudleys are here. Having them actually win the championships, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm into that idea. Plus, it's a ladder match, so we'll see if they do tie in something like that. But I think when the GMs were negotiating the terms for this, it was supposed to be 3 teams from Raw, 2 teams from SmackDown. So essentially, it'd be 4 teams from Raw if Judgment Day is technically a Raw act. So I feel like on SmackDown, they're only going to qualify 1 more team. But somehow Raw's got to qualify 2 more? I don't know how they're going to do that. I don't know how the fuck they're going to do that. What do you guys think is going to happen in that ladder match? Let me know in the chat there. Then we cut backstage to Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan. That's all I'll say there. But Liv approached Becky. They kind of worked out their issues last week, and Becky looks a little bit, suspect of Liv, but Liv's like, just make sure you kick her ass. So basically gave her an atta girl, go out there and whip her ass. And that brought us to tonight's main event. 3rd main event in 5 days for TV wrestling. Dynamite with Riho and Willow. Friday with Bayley and Dakota. And here on Monday with Nia Jax and Becky Lynch. Last woman standing match. This was a great stipulation to do because now you can beat Nia Jax without beating her. Nia rocking her Tina Turner hair. I like that look on her. And this was a fun one. Of course, we had tables and kendo sticks and all the regular ass shit that you would see in a match like this. And I when they announced this last week, I was very excited because Nia Jax has been having really good matches lately. And her and Becky Lynch already had a good one a couple of months ago or a few weeks back, whenever that was. And so we're the one that Nia Jax won. That was in January, I guess. So now doing Last Woman Standing based on what we saw last week is the perfect stip to do, and they did great. They beat the hell out of each other. Loved a lot of this match. Very brutal, very hard-hitting, and I like the long-term rivalry that these two are developing. You know, years from now when they're both out of the ring and you look back, remember all the times Nia Jax and Becky Lynch hooked up and talked about the big face smash in 2018 to now where we are in 2024. So much, history between them, and this one was great. I loved the bump that Nia Jax took that I thought was going to be the finish. Props to Nia for it not being the finish, because you don't often see the women taking bumps like the one Nia was about to take here. And Becky had her up on the apron. Well, I guess Nia had Becky up on her shoulders. So the attempt was for Nia to Samoan drop Becky off the apron through the table onto the floor, right? But Becky shakes herself off of Nia's back. She's able to reverse it. She gets in manhandle slam position, and she's able to manhandle slam Nia Jax off the apron, flat through the table, flat back bump, back of the head hitting the fucking ground and everything. She really took that bump hard. You could see it on her face, and it didn't look that protected. I mean, she got her elbows down, so it probably helped a little bit going through that table, but man, she landed hard. And I just assumed that was going to be it. As a matter of fact, I wrote manhandle slam through the table. Wow, FTW, as in for the win. And I had to erase FTW because she did not FTW. Nia Jax got up. So Nia Jax just barely beats that 10 count, the ref's counting, and she kind of stands and she wobbles but falls back down, but she stood up long enough to break the count. So she stood up, fell immediately back down, which means the ref starts over on the count. So she's wobbly. She's still trying to get her bearing straight, and she wobbles hunched over towards the announce table, and there's a ladder right there. So Becky climbs up on the ladder, and as Nia kind of wobbles over in position, hunched over, Becky comes off with a top rope leg drop onto the back of the neck of Nia that puts her through the table, and the table breaks, and Nia just got her ass kicked. And that was one she wouldn't get up from. That was all it took. She did not answer the 10 count. Becky Lynch got the win, and it was a match that I still think kept Nia Jax relatively strong. It didn't bury her in any way, and the fact that she was able to actually get up from that initial table bump that under normal circumstances would be the finish to any women's match, she got up from that and took another table bump, was pretty incredible. So again, I have to continue my praise of Nia Jax. I was not expecting to enjoy her run this much. I was expecting to fucking hate her run and want nothing to do with her being back in the company, but Triple H has done right by her. Everything they've done and every match she's been in has been good. She's been presented well, she's been used well, and her matches have been good. Her matches have been good. And this one was no different. So bravo to the women. Another good main event match here tonight after Becky's win. Rhea Ripley comes out. She does her full ass entrance and everything. And then a little face off with Becky Lynch in the middle of the ring as the show closes. So it was good to see the women get some representation here, because the women are not going to be main eventing a WrestleMania this year. So Becky and Rhea Ripley, you still want to be a big deal, as you want Bayley and Io Sky to be a big deal as well. So closing the show here with with Becky and Rhea Ripley, giving them that moment was perfect. I liked it, and I'm hoping that match can at least be as good at WrestleMania as Charlotte and Rhea Ripley was last year, because I thought that was a really good match that the two of them had. And again, not being in the main event last year, having the tag match instead, I remember thinking and having the conscious thought that Rhea Ripley and Charlotte might be going out there trying to make a point, that they should be there. And now Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch might find themselves in that same situation. And Rhea Ripley, I think, probably should have a WrestleMania main event at some point. And if she were to retain here over Becky Lynch, I would make the argument that you would have Rhea Ripley hold the title. Brace yourselves, okay? For another year, Not only retain against Becky here, but continue to roll all year. Defend, 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 defend. And then at next year's Royal Rumble, you have Bianca Belair win it and challenge Rhea Ripley. And it's Rhea Ripley's 2-year-long streak going up against Bianca Belair, who has a tremendous track record at WrestleMania. And that's your main event for night 1 or night 2. Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, WrestleMania 41. I am making the case for that. And I think one way to make that match even more special is to have Ripley with like a long-ass run. Oh, another year for her. Oh, my God. Well, you know what? There's 64 other championships that you can follow. So having one champion like a Roman or a Ripley or a Gunther hold the title, for the better part of your childhood, I think is fine at the end of the day. Not a big deal. So maybe that's what we could see in the future. All in all, good episode of Monday Night Raw tonight. They touched all their points. They furthered their storylines, and especially with the 3 big ones, the Jay and Jimmy and Cody and Roman and Seth and McIntyre, I thought were all those stories were advanced strongly tonight on Raw. Nothing that I saw tonight made me less excited for those matches. Most of those segments tonight made me more excited, and that's the goal. That's the point. So WWE, I think, achieved their goal tonight and gave us a pretty solid Monday Night Raw. Way to go. Let's go back to the chat now that my notes are pretty much done, and we can just hang out and do backflips or whatnot. Let me do a refresh here, see what we got going on. Likes would be helpful. Low likes. That's sad likes. Got to give me 100 likes at least, or I'm going to fucking cry. Anyway, I won't cry. I'm going to answer some super chats instead. Let me find where I left off so I don't forget anybody. Mike Witt has got 5 for me here about Cody. Cody goes to SmackDown alone Friday. Bloodline attacks him just when they're ready to finish Cody. Cena comes out to even up the odds and help Cody. I don't know, maybe. Now you're adding Cena. Again, I'm all for things being added in the Night 2 Bloodline Rules match because I do believe that's the way it has to go. If I'm booking things in the Night 1 main event, I'm having The Rock pin Cody. Making Night 2 Bloodline Rules where anything goes and everybody and their fucking mother come out there and interfere. I might prefer to see Cena there, but I also argue that based on everything going on, sometimes more the merrier is what you want, sometimes not. And I think Cena getting involved, the only way I would want to see it happen is if Cena got involved at WrestleMania on night 2 and we had a little thing with him and The Rock. That could be fun. But again, then you're distracting from the upcoming issue that Rock and Roman Reigns are going to have and Rock and Cody's thing. We might even get a match. I feel like Cena isn't needed. I want to see Cena at WrestleMania. I would love for Cena and The Rock to have some sort of confrontation, face-off, hello. They did that thing at WrestleMania 32 where the two of them beat up the Wyatt family or something, right? And they kind of joined forces there. Rock was in his gear, felt like he was back in the ring. Like, I liked all that. So maybe something here at WrestleMania would be good. But in terms of everything going on right now, less than 3 weeks away from WrestleMania, Cody and Roman and Rock's involvement, adding Cena unnecessary and not really needed, to be honest. 5 more from Rarely Even. It was clearly Cody's dog calling Rock a... See? Rarely Even had to spell it out for me. I thought he was just calling him a cat, like an actual cat. Okay, calling him a pussy. Okay, gotta be PG. I guess that makes a little sense. Thanks for spelling that out for me, Rarely Even. And thanks for not being mad at everything tonight. I don't like so-and-so. He sucks. Like, you're totally being normal. That's awesome. And you're educating me, and I need that sometimes. So thank you. Good to see Financial Truth Academy in the house as well. Domination Warriors got $2 for us. What year after 2014 had WWE's best roster? Shit, I don't know. Probably now. I think probably now. Tough to find a better one. They're hitting on everything right now. Rarely Even's got 5 more for us. Logan Paul retains at Mania. He comes out being a complete asshole at the next SmackDown. Braun Breaker challenges him. Spear, 1, 2, 3, new champ. I do think Logan Paul is going to retain. That would be one way to bring Braun Breaker onto the scene with a splash, but I feel like they might have booked Logan Paul in this triple threat so he can retain and maybe drop it to LA Knight, which is what a lot of fans wanted to see at this year's WrestleMania anyway, but the Kevin Owens stuff, carried over, and, the Randy Orton stuff began in Elimination Chamber, and now LA Knight's going to be facing AJ, so if Logan Paul is able to retain his title, and maybe during that match an issue arises between Owens and Randy Orton that takes them into a program, now Logan Paul is free and clear to have a new opponent, and LA Knight puts down AJ Styles, then you can book that for Backlash or Saudi Arabia or whatever's coming up in the next few months, and have LA Knight win the title from Logan Paul there. But I also think it's very possible that Logan Paul carries it into SummerSlam. So we will see Logan Paul and LA Knight at SummerSlam. That means we got to wait a little longer for LA Knight to have like a really, really big moment. And maybe SummerSlam will be the spot for that. But I feel like with Logan Paul now being in that triple threat, they are definitely setting him up to retain at WrestleMania. Nate Dogg Kata has got 5 for us. Good to see you back, man. Appreciate it. If Punk never got injured, you'd think it still would have been Rock and Roman versus Cody and Seth, with Punk losing his main event again. I don't know. I don't think so. I feel like Rock came out at the beginning of January and tested the waters, made that head of the table comment, and then Punk's injury might have affected that. So I don't know how Punk's injury would have played out. So basically, if we rewound and Punk didn't get injured, then yeah, I feel like he would have been facing Seth Rollins this year. Cody would have faced Roman, and I don't know what Rock would have done. Yeah, so I don't know what the plans would have been if Punk wouldn't have gotten hurt. I feel like he would have been in there with Seth, but then you wonder what Drew would do, what Rock would do. Yeah, I don't know what. I think it would be a completely different looking WrestleMania card for sure if Punk never got injured. It would be a good what if. I think you could book it like 6 different directions. But yeah, if Punk never got injured, it looked like it was going to be Punk, Rollins, Cody, Roman, and then Rock getting involved. I guess maybe he just would have been a small part of it, or maybe been involved with Cody and Roman somehow. But if that was the case, and if Rock would have gotten his way, and like, let's say Rock would have gotten the match with Roman, and WWE said, nope, fans, we don't care what you say, we're doing Rock and Roman Reigns, then what would have Cody have done? He couldn't face Seth because it was going to be Punk. And even if Cody did face Seth, then why would he burn that title shot when he could face Roman? None of it made any sense. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm really happy that we've managed to be in a good spot, because with all these different moving parts and all these different scenarios, these injuries and these pivots, we could be staring down the barrel of a really, really disappointing looking WrestleMania, and we're not. The show actually looks pretty good. So I am optimistic up in here. Imagine if John Cena came out at the last second and gets a WrestleMania 20 type feel where Benoit and Eddie stand tall, but this time it's Cena and Cody. Maybe I'd rather see Cody and either Cody and Rollins, because they've had some history on TV. Cody and Sami would be very cool. But yeah, if Cody and Seth, that's why I'm starting to think that maybe there really is a chance that Seth will retain now at WrestleMania, and perhaps CM Punk does get involved in that. I still think you can't discount or discredit Damian Priest. He should attempt to cash in that briefcase in one of those matches. I mean, imagine that. Imagine if, after all that is said and done, night 2, the dust settles, Cody and Seth are both standing there as world champions. I would love the Benoit and Eddie moment for those two. And if you have the two of them, Seth Rollins survives Drew McIntyre earlier on in the night with help from CM Punk, and now Cody wins the title in a bonkers-ass bloodline match. He's celebrating. Rollins comes down to congratulate him. They share a hug, and then Damian Priest's music hits. Okay? Both champions are in the ring. What is he doing? And then maybe Rollins and Cody both are standing next to each other watching him come down the aisle, and they're kind of looking at each other. We both have our belts here. What is he going to do? maybe that's where you do like a Rollins heel turn or something. And then Rollins, boom, bashes Cody in the head with his title, attacks Cody, kicks him. Maybe not even like that was the plan all along, but maybe like Seth saving himself. This guy's coming in to cash on one of us. I might as well just make it Cody, and then just attacks Cody or something, puts him down, runs away with his title, and then Priest is able to win and beat Cody and win the fucking Universal title. Oh my God. Something like that could happen if they really wanted to get crazy and they wanted to do something ultra nuts. But as much as I think Damian Priest definitely has a very real chance of cashing in his Money in the Bank contract at WrestleMania in some scenario against someone, don't forget he could come out in that night one match. You're gonna have two champions in the ring on night one too, aren't we? So that scenario I just laid out for night two, Damian Priest technically has 4 opportunities to win the championship at WrestleMania. So how are you going to justify him not cashing in? It might have to be a thing where he gets injured in that ladder match. Like he goes through a ladder and they take him out in an ambulance or something. You have to explain why he might, especially if the tag match on night one and the bloodline rules on night two have so much going on and the champions are so compromised in so many different moments. Why would he not come out there and try to take advantage of that? So look for that on night one. Look for a swerve. There's still a possibility that Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre won't even happen because Priest could cash in on night one before Rollins even gets to that match, or he could come in there and cash in on fucking Roman Reigns or something. I cannot see that happening, but Priest being out there with the briefcase, he either needs to attempt to cash it in or WWE needs to really explain why he didn't, because he's going to have endless opportunities, and they're not even talking about that much on TV. If they keep cutting backstage to all of these Judgment Day segments where they're chatting with each other, how has this not come up? How is Ripley being like, bro, do you realize that you're going to have 2 champions in the ring on night one, both seemingly possibly in a vulnerable situation. So you've got 2 opportunities right there on night one. Then on night 2, you got 2 more opportunities because Rollins has to defend his title and Roman's has to defend his. So you need to be paying attention to that. Yes, you and Balor have got your own problems in that ladder match, but you better be paying attention because you could walk out of Wrestle. You have Damian Priest, where we sit right now, Damian Priest has just as good a chance as Cody or Rollins or Drew or Roman of walking out of WrestleMania as the champion if he plays his cards right. So if he does not get hurt in that ladder match, if him and Balor somehow retain those tag team titles and he's all good and healthy and he sits on his ass and watches the tag match on night one and Seth and Roman defend their titles on night 2, and he sees the champions down and out and incapacitated multiple times, a dozen times over the span of 2 days, and he does nothing, why did he do nothing? See what I mean? So you gotta consider that briefcase. That briefcase could be a huge wild card in all of this, unless WWE just feels that, yes, we want to belt up Damian Priest, but WrestleMania 40 is too big of a show to do that on or something. Maybe they want to save that for Backlash or something like that. I don't know, but I feel like Priest cashing in is a definite possibility at WrestleMania. And I feel like it would have to be for the world title. It would have to be Seth's title that Priest cashes in and grabs, but then again, you do set yourself up with a possible scenario at the end of WrestleMania 40, Cody winning the match after one of the biggest, best stories ever told, and then you end it with Priest. They can't do that. That's why I think maybe Priest will already be champion by the time we get to that Cody moment. So Cody can have the moment, no threat of the briefcase because it's already been cashed in and it's just Cody. And now Rollins, and I've mentioned this before too, now Rollins is assuming that scenario plays out. Priest cashes in the earlier match and he wins the championship by making it a triple threat against Drew or cashing in on the winner or whatever he does. He's champion before Cody and Roman face each other, and then Cody wins the title. Now Rollins can be like, hey, Cody, I laid my life on the line for you for the last few months. Granted, Cody did give him an out, but, you know, I risked everything for you. I had your back. I think as repayment of that, you should give me a title shot. And then it's Rollins and Cody. But if I'm booking WrestleMania 41, the three big matches that I would try to do is Rock and Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes, and Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. I think those are your three big main events for WrestleMania 41 next year. And I think it should be Seth Rollins beating Cody Rhodes to win the championship. That's why if Seth drops the title here at WrestleMania, he'll have a full year away from the title. You do a draft maybe after WrestleMania, you separate Cody and Seth. Get them away from each other, put them on separate brands. That way they're not interacting on TV with each other. And you still just have those three matches with those guys that culminated in the Hell in the Cell before when Cody got hurt. And you don't put them in the ring again until next year. Cody continues his run. Cody runs with the title for a year, successfully defends at SummerSlam, successfully defends at Survivor Series, successfully defends at the Royal Rumble. And we're into WrestleMania season again. He's going into WrestleMania, and Seth Rollins wins the Royal Rumble. And he challenges Cody. Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes defending his title against Seth Rollins, and that is where Seth Rollins gets his win back and beats Cody Rhodes at Mania, maybe in the main event of night one for the championship. And then night two can go to Roman and Rock if they must. And like I said, I'd do the same scenario. I'd have Rhea hold on to the title all year too, and then have Bianca Belair win the Rumble. I'd have Seth and Bianca both win the Rumble next year and both beat the respective champions for the title. That's what I do. So all that can start right after WrestleMania. Mike Witt, what a great way to bring back the importance of the Raw after Manias than just to have Damian Priest do it right there. Cash in on Raw. That might be the better spot, especially, Mike, if you want to do the Eddie and Benoit WrestleMania 20 moment with Cody and Seth, both walking out and surviving this whole ordeal, Seth holding on to his gold and Cody winning his, have that big moment between the two, and then have Priest come in and cash in maybe on Seth in the opening segment or later on Raw. Maybe Cody opens Raw to celebrate as the new champion. He gets his big moment. And now I'm going to go on my bus with my wife. We're going to go out and celebrate. I want to thank you guys. We're going to spend tonight to celebrate and reflect. But next week, we are back to business. I'm going to be a fighting champion, and I'm looking forward to representing this belt and this company going forward. But tonight, it's for me and Brandy, and it's for, I forget his kid's name, and it's for Pharaoh. We're going to go have our moment and be together as a family. I wish you well. I love you very much. I will see you next week on Monday Night Raw, leaving Seth all by himself. And then Seth comes out later for something, and he's got a victory speech, maybe at the top of the second hour, and boom, Priest is out, cashes in, Cody can't save him. Something like that, right? That could work. That could work. I like it. I like it. Rarely Even, appreciate the 5. Who do you send after Cody as his first challenger post-Mania? That's a good question. I feel like maybe... I was going to say maybe even a Damian Priest, but Priest has got that briefcase. So with Cody, that's a good-ass question, man. I feel like I had an answer to this a couple of weeks ago. Oh, man. I don't know who Cody is going to defend against right off the bat. I had an answer to this. I had somebody in mind, actually, for Cody. And probably not Gunther yet either. Man, I had a challenger actually in mind for Cody, and I cannot remember now for the life of me. Maybe it'll come to me before we sign off. Maybe McIntyre. Could be McIntyre. Randy Orton, Doug Unfunny, yeah, could be. But Randy Orton, I think, is going to be probably having some unresolved issues with Kevin Owens. They've been teasing a couple of like almost RKOs, on SmackDown type of thing. And I think Orton and Owens are going to be each other's demise in the Logan Paul match. They're going to kind of cancel each other out, probably screw each other over. Something's going to happen. Logan's going to escape with the title. They're going to blame each other, and boom, you got a feud. So I don't know how you get to Cody and Orton that quick. I think Cody's first probably feud will be against somebody on Raw, but then again, they haven't really, explained how they're going to handle that. Like if Cody wins the championship from Roman, does that mean by default he's on SmackDown, or does that mean by default the title is on Raw? Who goes where if Cody wins? Does the title come to Raw, or does he go to SmackDown? So whatever they do there, whatever they decide, they'll clean up in the draft. So if Cody's on Raw, I'm like, oh shit, and Seth retained the title, well, fuck, both titles are on Raw now. We got to do something about that. So that's why I think they're going to do a draft, and they're maybe going to swap the titles. Like the World Heavyweight title is going to go to SmackDown, and the WWE is going to come to Raw. They've done that many times in the past. Remember? They would always kind of trade the big gold and the other one between the Raw and SmackDown brands. They've been doing it for decades. So I feel like now that they have a second championship again, they're probably going to do it again. So if they wind up swapping the titles, that's probably what they will do. And Cody, I guess, will continue to be the face of Raw. I don't know if you move Cody to SmackDown. SmackDown's going to be moving to the USA Network. You know, it's not going to be on as big of a stage. You might want to have Cody make some SmackDown appearances after WrestleMania, but in terms of being a full-blown, SmackDown star, I think they have no obligation to the Fox network anymore. They're not going to put their biggest draw automatically on SmackDown now. They're probably going to keep Cody where he is. At least I hope they do. I hope Cody sticks around on Raw, because I think Cody's great on Raw. So I would feel like maybe Rollins is going to be the one to make the move. Rollins and Becky Lynch maybe both making the move to SmackDown, especially if Rhea Ripley retains. Becky might go to SmackDown and start targeting the champion over there, and maybe Seth Rollins goes with her. So I would look for Seth and Becky to both be on SmackDown by the time we get to Money in the Bank. That's my early prediction for those guys. Balor, that's true. Finn Balor could be a good one. It depends, the champion will generally win his first match or his first program. So it might not have to be like a major threat. It might just be somebody like a Balor who he's going to beat anyway. Like even when Daniel Bryan won the title and he faced Kane right after that and stuff, if he was hurt during that, but if he wasn't, you'd figured he'd beat Kane. But we will see. Anyway, it's been a long one. This stream went longer than I was expected, but I'm going to get out of here since the audience seems to be dropping. But I appreciate you guys being here. Don't forget to keep yourself subscribed, and make sure you subscribe if you are not subscribed, because lots of things happening this week on the channel, the next week on the channel, and a lot of videos coming between now and WrestleMania, and a huge week of content during WrestleMania week. Many of these are live streams, and most of these links are already up, posted on the channel in the big WrestleMania 40 season playlist that you can catch right there on the YouTube channel. So make sure you check it out and save all of those videos for later, because it's going to be a wild 3 weeks. So the next time you guys are going to hear from me is going to be this coming Wednesday. I'm going to be dropping a 30th anniversary WrestleMania review. So just do your math there. You can probably figure it out. And also that night is Dynamite, and I think I'm off. So I might come up here for a post-Dynamite stream. Maybe. Not sure. Or I might just concentrate on getting work done. Either way, you're going to get me a minimum of one time on Wednesday, maybe twice. And then this coming Friday, we're going to be doing another YouTube collab ahead of, the podcast on Saturday. So a busy week. Another watch along this Sunday, WrestleMania 15. I was at that show, so I'll be talking about my experience in Philly this Sunday. Lots of stuff going on. So thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your super chats. Thank you for your hellos and your pleasantries. It's always good to see you guys. You guys take care, and I'll be catching you on Wednesday